Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead. We're canning hamburger today. So, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 packages at approximately £1.50 per package of local hay-fed ground beef. Now, I'm going to do some in pints and I'm going to do some in half pints to make it stretch, because I was counting on that pork to make this stretch. I was also counting on a deer. But, you know, we will do what we have, what we can with what we have. So I'm just going to put these packages in the roasting pan. So you're not going to get to see me using my new meat grinder, because I got nothing to grind except my teeth, and they're almost gone anyway. I may have to ask Jimmy Carroll if he's got any more beef. I like to have it on the shelf. These are really nicely vacuum sealed, and but I like to have some on the shelf. And these packages are quite big for Howie and I. Like £1.50 does a big meatloaf, and so we get one supper, but Howie gets meatloaf sandwiches. So we'll save a few in the freezer. But these are going into a 300-degree oven to slow roast, and I'll chop them up as they cook. Okay, I've chopped up the hamburger, taken the foil off and chopped it up, and I'm now going to let this cool so that I can this up. Remember, folks, when you never ever can ground beef by raw pack. You always have to cook it. Okay, so I'm going to let this cool down, and then I'll get to canning it. I also took out a little bit to make some spaghetti for supper. Okay, no, Gracie, you're not getting any. Okay, so here is our cooked ground beef. I let it cool and then covered it and put it in the fridge overnight. Here I have 16 half-pint jars. I'm doing them in half-pint jars because a half a pint will do just fine for a spaghetti or something for Howard and I. And we need to make things stretch. There's my lids sitting in, they've been washed, rinsed, and sitting in hot water. Our canner is cold. Why is our canner cold? Because everything going in it is going to be cold. Okay, so we're going to start from cold. What I'm going to do first is, rather than put salt in every jar, I'm just going to put a heaping tablespoon of salt right through this and give it a good stir to make sure it's well combined, and that way I'm giving a step, getting rid of a step. So we're doing half pints. And I'm really going to push this down in here because I want to get as much meat in here as possible. To about a ½ inch from the top. Now remember, you cannot raw pack ground beef. It has to be cooked. There, look at that. That's beautiful. Beautiful, Clark. Beautiful, Clark. Yes, that's coming too. Always, always wipe the rims with a clean damp paper towel or cloth. On goes a warm lid, and into the canner that goes. I only have 2 of these squat jars. No, Gracie, not until I'm done with the pot, and then you can lick it. Just a little bit more in there. Always, always. Now we're not turning the canner on until all these jars are in there. Now, I did use some of this hamburger in last night's supper, so we're not going to get the full, I don't know how many packages I did. Did I do 5? Which should have been I don't know. There was probably 6 or 7 pounds. I'm hoping I will be able to get it all in these jars. You can pack it down fairly tight if you want. It's cooked. All right, and when I have all of this in the canner, we'll be back. So in this canner, and it's cold because my meat was cold, I have 16 half pints of burger, and this translates between 7 and 8 pounds. Let's get the lid on. Okay, so we're gonna put these are all 4 jars lids, and this is my 4 jars canner, and now I'm gonna put the lid on, and now I'm gonna turn the heat on. It's gonna take a while to heat up because nothing's hot. But when this is spouting a steady stream of steam, I will set the timer for 10 minutes, and we'll let the canner vent for 10 minutes. Always follow the manufacturer's directions. If you don't properly vent the canner, you won't get the proper pressure inside the canner. If you don't get the proper pressure inside the canner, it may mess with the integrity of your seals inside the canner. All right? Okay, we're spouting, I don't know how well you can see that. We're spouting a steady stream of steam, so the timer is set for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna put on our 10-pound weight. Okay, our timer has gone off. I'm gonna put a 10-pound weight on here. Now listen, folks, if you live 1,000 feet or more above sea level, please check your manufacturer's directions. I'm using a 10-pound weight, but if you live 1,000 feet or more above sea level, you may require a 15-pound weight and a different time schedule for your canner. So please check your manufacturer's directions. Now, as soon as this gives us our first vigorous jiggle and we get to 10 pounds pressure, we're gonna set the timer for 75 minutes. That's an hour and 15 minutes. It's an hour and 15 minutes for pints, an hour and a half for quarts. Anything less than a pint is going to be canned as a pint, okay? We are at 10 pounds pressure and I got my first jiggle. So I'm gonna set the timer for 75 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, our timer has gone off. I'm gonna turn off the canner and I'm gonna let it cool naturally. You know the drill. Do not take the weight off. Do not rapid depressurize your canner. For God's sakes, don't try and open it until it's comfortable to the touch when you put your hands on the sides. The cooling of the canner is part of the canning process, so just let it cool naturally. And there it is. 16 half pints jars of ground beef. Excellent for spaghetti, soups, sauces, pizza toppings, and tacos. Canning it in half pint jars meant it goes that much farther. There are 16 meals where I may have only gotten 7 or 8 before. That's making that quarter go, mwah. Take care, God bless. And remember, folks, if you're a home canner and you're not trying 4 jars canning lids, you are missing out. These are heavier than any other disposable lid on the market. They are a US company, and if you order over $100, your shipping is free. Check in the description box below this video for a link to 4 jars canning lids and use the coupon code HALFACRE, all one word in capital letters, for 10% off. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok for ideas and recipes. 4 jars canning lids, you can't go wrong.